Never in my life had I ever thought I could withstand a Halloween movie marathon. I ended up watching 11 films in a matter of 48 hours. I was glad that Michael Myers was, in fact, a fictional character, even though some say that he was actually from Haddonfield, New Jersey, which wasn't too far from me. The devilish young boy slaughtered his sister with a large knife on Halloween. Afterward, Michael spent many years in a mental institution and on one rainy evening stole a car and escaped into the darkness. And from then on, he hunted his sister Laurie for most of the films. John Carpenter's famous horror series was well known for its gory scenes and random killings. I felt as if each sequel had to find a way to top the previous one. Ellie, Bill, and I stepped outside into the cool evening air in Haddonfield, New Jersey. There was a Halloween party at our friend Matt's house. Matt always had the best parties ever since we were kids. Unfortunately, he was too busy to join our Halloween movie marathon. I was glad they were finally over, and looked forward to hanging out with friends from school. Those movies were cool. Michael always found a way to survive. Except for that third one. What was that all about? Yeah, the third one made no sense to me. Halloween 3 didn't even have Michael Myers in it. Nothing to do with the first two. Must have been a money grab, Bill said. I must admit, there were some creepy moments, and that music, ugh, I cringed. Ahead of us, the shape of a man stood staring at us. I hesitated for a second, then yelled at Bill and Ellie. It's him. Look. I pointed at the shape. They both raised their heads to see what I had screamed about, but nothing was there. It's a movie, Judy. Michael Myers doesn't exist. Ellie smiled. We turned the corner and were on Matt Street. Matt decorated his front yard like a cemetery. Several classmates were entering the house for the party inside. Bill, Eddie, and I made our way through the cemetery and onto the front steps. At the front door stood a Michael Myers. It looked so much like him, I felt like screaming. But before I could, Matt pulled off his mask and yelled, "Trick or treat!" Matt, just like you'd always have a trick up your sleeve, your costume's sick. We spent the past 2 days watching all 11 movies. Nearly scared Judy out of her mind. I promise, Judy, I won't wear the mask when you're around, Matt assured me. It's okay, Matt. I have to remember that Michael Myers is only a fictional character. I went inside the house. Many of our friends were dressed in creepy outfits and enjoying the party. Matt put his mask back on. He continued to greet others who walked up to the porch. A visitor had arrived, dressed as Michael Myers. How original. The visitor tilted his head and pulled a large carving knife out from his front pocket. Matt stood and inspected the knife as he moved it above his head. That looks real. Where'd you find that? With that, the stranger grabbed Matt and lifted him off the ground, and with a single motion, plunged the giant knife into Matt's throat. Bill, Ellie, and I ran out the back of his home and down the street as fast as we could. We hurried back home. Kids were screaming up and down the street, terrified at the murder that just occurred. Bill stopped to assure Ellie and me that it was all just a prank. But then, the killer appeared from behind him, jabbing the knife through one side of his right ear and out of the other side. Bill, stunned, stood bleeding until he collapsed. Ellie and I screamed. We took off looking for anyone who might be outside who could help us. We knew from the films that Michael was always looking to exterminate as many victims as he possibly could. Eddie and I took off towards Main Street. A police car sped past us towards Matt's house. Ellie stopped to take a breather, and I sat across from her on the grass. Was that Michael Myers? It appears to have been. I thought you guys said he was just a fictional character. Suddenly, all the blood left Ellie's face, and she screamed for us to run. And in a split second, Ellie's decapitated head flew onto the street in front of me. Her blood splashed on the road and onto my face. I looked back to find Michael Myers standing directly behind me, with a knife aimed at the top of my skull. I screamed at the top of my lungs, waiting to feel the steel of the knife pierce my head. But nothing. I looked around to find Michael Myers had vanished. For some reason, he turned around and headed towards a group of teenagers, and I ran straight home. Michael Myers had returned to Haddonfield, and no one knew how or why. All I knew was that I had to end him the same way he ended my friends. In a girl world, Halloween is the one night a year when a girl can dress like a total slut, and no other girls can say anything about it. The Mean Girls quote was forever drilled into my memory. My costume was going to be nice and simple. There's never enough time to put together the perfect costume. Dana and I had realized this since, once again, we were running behind schedule and our Halloween party was a week away. I'd rather not throw on lingerie and cat ears, but it requires zero planning. No, dressing up is serious business. I want to dress as a corpse bride. So we hit up all the local thrift shops and boutiques in search of a vintage-style wedding dress. And we didn't have much luck. Go figure. Either people weren't getting married often enough, or the dresses we did find were hideous. I'm sure I can ask my mom if you can borrow her dress. That won't work. It needs to be distressed. And I'm going to stain it with coffee, Dana said, defeated and ready to go. But right as we were about to leave, we saw one of the employees holding up a wedding dress. Dana immediately ran over to her. Yeah, we just received this box today. A lot of beautiful dresses too. Dana grabbed the dress and went to the fitting room to try it on. It was perfect, so she bought it and we left. Halloween night arrived, and Dana couldn't wait to show off her costume. She spent all day wearing the dress and tailoring it to perfection. It was pretty terrifying. Someone knocked on our front door. I'm going to put the finishing touches on my dress and makeup. Go ahead and let the guests in. I'll be down in a minute. I ran downstairs and let the guests in, and we had a full house in no time. I was handing out hors d'oeuvres when someone asked where Dana was. I looked at the time, and it had been an hour since I saw Dana getting ready upstairs. I left the party to go check on her. And when I opened the door, she was laying down on her bed, just like a corpse. Looks so realistic, great job. I should tell Eric to come up here and bring you back to life. Silence. She laid there, still, and I realized she wasn't breathing. I tried to wake her up, but nothing. So I screamed for help. A few guests entered the room and laughed and clapped, thinking it was all an act. I screamed for them to call an ambulance, and that's when everyone started panicking. The ambulance arrived and took Dana's body away. After investigation, we found out that the wedding dress was poisoned by embalming fluid, which stopped Dana's blood flow after hours of wearing it. Its previous owner wore it to her wedding and funeral, until it was stolen from her corpse.